Hey friends, so we have been talking about the gospel for the past few weeks and the past few months here at FVC for Youth. And last week Katrina shared about the part of the gospel that is the kingdom of heaven that is beginning now, that we can actually take part in this kingdom of heaven today as people who follow Jesus. The week before that, John spoke about what it means that God loves us and what it means that Jesus actually demonstrates perfectly what his love for us means. Now this week we're going to continue on talking about an idea surrounding this gospel. And this idea that we're talking about today is that Jesus came to shut down religion. Now, a few things might come to mind when I say that. Perhaps you remember back in 2019 when I was speaking about the book of James, and we talked about how Jesus redefines religion. I'll talk about that again in a minute, but perhaps you also think of the idea that Jesus seemed to have started the largest religion in the world. And so obviously this isn't one of the most important things for Jesus, or at least he seems to have messed up a little bit if that was really his goal. To give context to this idea that Jesus came to shut down religion, I want to talk about an odd story found in the book of Matthew, and I'm going to read that for you now. It says, "Early in the morning, as Jesus was on his way back to the city, he was hungry. Seeing a fig tree by the road, he went up to it but found nothing on it except leaves. Then he said to it, 'May you never bear fruit again.' Immediately the tree withered." This seems like a bit of a silly story to be in the Gospels. It sounds like Jesus was just hangry and cursed the fig tree because he really wanted some food. I've heard some people try to explain this story, but I haven't been super happy with the explanation in the past. I've heard that it's a metaphor for our lives, that the tree had leaves but no fruit. It looked good but had no substance. There's definitely truth, and there's a valid message there. Putting on a nice appearance at church but not actually living out a Jesus-centered life is problematic. But why the aggressive curse, and why in this particular time with this particular tree? I'd always thought this was too random of an event, and Jesus could have easily told a parable that explain the same concept. And in fact, he did a lot of times, calling out the Pharisees for similar things in their lives. So recently I stumbled upon a conversation in which two people were talking about this verse, and they explained what they saw in the text, and I thought it was really, really phenomenal. So oftentimes it's important to look at the context of a verse, to look at the verses that come before and after it, to understand why that story is there. In this particular case, Jesus has just come down from the temple. And you may remember the story where Jesus flips over the temple tables because the temple had become a place of business. And not only that, but dishonest business. People were getting ripped off in the temple and being told that that was how they were supposed to worship God. It was a place in which thieves and robbers worked, and Jesus was sending a message that this is not what he was all about. And to follow him is to actually leave all that behind. So before we keep going, in order to get a more full context of this passage, I'm going to read from Ezekiel 47, in which we see a prophecy about how the temple was supposed to bear fruit. It says this, "Fruit trees of all kinds will grow on both banks of the river. Their leaves will not wither, nor will their fruit fail. Every month they will bear fruit because the water from the sanctuary flows to them. Their fruit will serve for food, and their leaves for healing." Now this is really interesting because, as we were saying, Jesus just walked down from the temple, and he's by a tree that, according to this prophecy, should be filled with fruit. So he curses the tree, but who is he really cursing? The temple. He's saying that when he curses this tree, that the old system is never going to work. It actually isn't a thing that's going to bring life. In fact, religion and rules and laws and punishments are never going to bring life, but Jesus will. So Jesus came to shut down religion, yes, but that doesn't mean that he wants to shut down Christianity. What he means is that he came to redefine it, to center it around loving each other and loving God. That is the core of the message that Jesus brings us. So my question for you to think about this week, and we'll talk about it a bit more on Wednesday, is what does the word religion mean to you? Does it sound like a negative word in your mind or a positive word? We'll talk a bit more on Wednesday. Be sure to join us for a Zoom call then. Have a great week.